Hi, welcome to Watcher DM. I'm Gabriel. Today I am continuing my flip through review series where I go through different adventure module products or TTRPGs that I have either run or played in. Today I am going to flip through and review Dead Planet by Fiona, Maeve, Geist, Donn, Stroud, and Sean McCoy. A violent incursion into the land of the living for the Mothership Sci-Fi horror role-playing game. It's been a while since I've actually played in this, and I did play in this. I haven't run this adventure. If you like these kinds of videos, you should hit the like button. If you want to see more of them, you should subscribe. And if you want to be notified when they come out, hit the notification bell icon. Also, if you want to get early access to these videos, you can go join my Patreon at patreon.com/watcherdm, where I release these videos a week early to my paid tier patrons. Thank you, paid tier patrons, for all your support. Looking at you, C-Sig. Keep it up, buddy. Alright, Dead Planet. This is, as far as I can tell, this is not like a starter module in the sense of like the original, another bug hunt style where it's giving you the warden education system. This is instead just kind of playing it straight, so it's going to be a straightforward module. But it does include a number of tools that are really worth looking at. So one thing I will say is this red and black combination is not amazing contrast for me. I had kind of a hard time reading this one. There were a few places where I thought the light text against the dark background was a bit small. And so if you have vision issues, you may want to get this one digitally for use, or you may want to grab some kind of magnification or visual extender, something like that. I do like this section here where it talks about how to use any module. So not how to use this module, how to use any module. That says cannibalize it, rip it apart, take the tables, take the monsters, take the maps, take the ships or the planet or the adventures or locations, take anything you want and do anything you want with it. This book belongs to you, and now so does everything inside. Do with it what you will, except for reproduce it, actually. It's worth noting that this is a copyrighted text, so not okay to copy this and republish it. But otherwise, go nuts. More specifically, the Dead Planet operates on a pretty simple premise. There's a planet somewhere out there in the universe, and it has a dark and brooding energy that sucks ships out of hyperspace and then strands them in orbit with no hope of ever returning home. Well, that's where the players come in. Characters can't get away from the Dead Planet using their jump drives, and a voyage on thrusters alone would take hundreds of years in uncharted space. If players don't find a way to deactivate the Dead Gateway on the planet's surface, then they're doomed. But why shouldn't that be any fun? So, there's some major spoilers here. So obviously these flip through reviews are spoilered because I'm flipping through and showing you every single page of these adventures. So if you're going to play these or run these, you don't want to know yet, get out of here. Just shoot. How do we get off this rock anyway? So if you're a GM who's like, cool idea, bro, but what are we doing? There are a few ways we've thought of to beat the Dead Planet. And all of them are pretty awful. Hopefully, you can find some better ones. Which I think is an invitation for the GM to kind of scrap together some clever ideas with their players and workshop and yes-and them a little bit. But probably it's intended to be terrible. So don't. Just give up and die here. Tell your friends about Mothership. I love that. That's number one. Depower the Dead Gateway, page 36, by traveling to the necropolis on page 34 and removing the engines at the city's center. Destroy the Dead Gateway and tear a hole in the universe. Blow up the planet by descending to the lowest level of the Red Tower and arming the fission core burner bomb. And convince Brecht to let them join him on his coffin run or board the Lucifer Rising. He's got room for 6. And then it's got some background here. The darkness that came to pass. I love these little setups where it's like 10 years ago, this happened. 18 days ago, this happened. A week ago, this. And now this. So The now is the Alexis, floats absent of life, and the crew of the Defiance is scattered and dying. The colonists on Tyrant Beggar are at a breaking point. Will your crew survive? The Dead Planet. So the Screaming on the Alexis is the first adventure kind of in this book. And it is designed to kind of play out. You can play this basically as a one-shot if you want to. I've played this adventure, I think, twice now. It's got some great tables up here at the top, and I love this type of design. Got your on arrival, your background, scans show. These little block texts here are great. This is the ship manifest, basically. The gaunt in the gateway when the dead portal opens. So this kind of every 47 minutes tells you what's going on. And then, yeah, this is, let's see. I want to say this is the Alexis. Command room, 2 androids. So yeah, you can crawl around the Alexis. It is a bit weird, though, that this is a ship layout, if I'm being totally honest. Damaged life support units. A good life support unit. This layout here, I think I would probably find this a little confusing. So if I was going to run this, I would want to just sit down and kind of pin out the things that I needed to know about this. Maybe in a more listed way instead of attached to the map the way that it's represented here. Not that this isn't attractive, it is, and I think it probably could work. But there seems to be a lot here. It's hard to visually to kind of lock in and see what's going on. And then this, I believe, is a derelict ship generator. So it says here there are dozens, if not hundreds, of derelict craft floating in orbit around the dead planet. The most recent of these, and the closest to the players upon arrival, is the Alexis, on page 6. If the players want to continue to explore space wrecks, there are a few easy ways to generate them. So you can just roll a D100 and read across from right to left, or left to right. Or you can roll a D100 9 times and read the results. Or you can choose your favorites. You just pick stuff off of this list. And I really like that. That it's just like, oh yeah, an exploration vessel. It's habitable, non-functioning. It has a reactor, thrusters, and jump drive is non-functioning. 1d5 warp cores are in there. You can just kind of pick as you're going through here. I'd probably, it might even be fun to just take this and like make a bunch of derelicts and kind of float them around Dead Planet instead of having your PCs be like stranded. Instead, be like, yeah, you're out here to scavenge. You're out here to loot and put them up against this stuff. And then, yeah, you get some random cargo. You get some weird stuff. The weird stuff is probably the coolest. You get cult members, anti-android conspirators, Scooby-Doo crew. Crazy. Derelict ship mapping. This is a really cool concept. I actually saw this, I think, in the Hull Breach. There was another version of this in Hull Breach where you kind of use some dice to generate a ship components layout. So yeah, you roll the dice and place them on a table to create a map. For each room, roll a d10. This shows the basic contents of that room. So you roll a d10 after you've kind of laid them out, and you reference what's in that. So what the die number is. So if it's a 6, you'd be in this column here. And whatever you rolled for a 10, that's kind of what's in that column. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a really fun derelict ship generator. Local drive, so this is the jump drive malfunction D100 table, which is pretty cool. Weapon and supply cache D100 table. It'll give you some stuff. Use with planetcrawl, so these are things you might find in your planetcrawl. Moon colony bloodbath. So Dead Planet's moon is barren and tide-locked. Once within firing range, the players can tell that that the moon is littered with wreckage. There are faint signs of life in the northern hemisphere. If the players inspect the moon closely, they notice the life signs come from a buried underground bunker. 60 kilometers away from the bunker is a huge harpoon gun surrounded by an enormous junk pile. These are the Brecht breakers. After 10 minutes, a massive electromagnetic tether is fired upon from the surface of the moon and hits the player's ship. 1 mega damage and begins pulling it towards the surface. Make a thruster check with disadvantage for the ship piloting to avoid. Pretty cool stuff. You got the dunes, so if you're lost in the dunes of the moon here, how far can they walk? Night and day on the moon. Some rules for food and water, getting lost, and nightmares. Resting on the moon has its consequences. Proximity to the Gaunt and their gate causes nightmares for those who choose to rest in this barren wasteland. So you check page 27 for that information. Why are the wrecker cannibals on the moon? That's a good question, man. I think when we interacted with these guys, we just GTFO'd. We were like, not happening, bro. We're out of here. So yeah, we just bounced as fast as we could. Tyrant Beggar Moon Base. Right, I remember this. Pretty vaguely, but I do remember it. God, I love this stuff, man. Colonist amputation. What are they doing? So everybody's lost limbs to the cannibal food supply. Chthonic catharsis. Several youth on Tyrant Beggar have heard a broadcast from the surface and are very exhilarated by the prospect of not living their life in a suffocating underground structure, eating goat and gruel supplements with human flesh. They're supplemented with human flesh. So gross. Let's face it, the teenagers are doomed. Man, we're cooked, honestly. Brecht's Breakers, a human population of 13 and android population of 0. Goes into the work crew, get some definitions of some places here. Important people on Tyrant Beggar. This is pretty cool stuff, actually. I really enjoy these little dossiers. I love the art here. Actually not really super sure. Illustrated by Stephen Wilson and Sean McCoy, edited by Jarrett Crater. So, yeah, some fun illustrations here. Lear, Broken Sculptor. Brecht, Head Scavenger. Dean, Troubled Youth. And yeah, you get some nice some possessions. What are they up to right now? Table, D10. What do they want? Yeah, nice little brief layout. Colonists and survivors. So you get some nice little name table here you can slap together. I searched the vault. You can find some stuff in a vault. This is one of the things about this module that I think, I would love to emulate in my own work, but it's extremely difficult. It's just all the usable kind of dense table stuff. And then, how do you bring this to bear at your table, right? How do you remember that this is the table you want to use for quirks or for I searched the vault, and make sure that it's there even when you're not using this module? So I'd really like to, I don't know, if you have thoughts on how you do that, I'd be interested in hearing that. Maybe sound off in the comments, let me know. Nightmares, Sculptures, and Compulsions. So these are, again, kind of some more weird sculptor things. That Broken Sculptor guy, D100 Nightmares. It is hot, it is dark, it is cramped, it is dusty, you are trapped. Love it. Your migraine is splitting your skull, a dog rushes towards you, its eyes full of loving devotion, its head explodes into a crimson mist, coating your hands like an accusation. Beautiful. Landing area on the dead planet. So when we landed, we came down, I think here. The dead gateway is all the way up here. I think when we traveled in, we got to the red tower, which is basically the best we could get to. We pretty swiftly died inside the red tower. But I do love this. I love this setup, the way that this is designed. Again, I think I would find this pretty hard to use. Despite it having all the information I need. It just really triggers the crap out of my ADHD, to look at this. I guess maybe it's really hard to read. It may be pretty usable, actually, but it feels very hard to read and kind of look at and comprehend everything. I feel like it's so much going on. I'd probably keep an extra notepad around and just jot down things that I needed to remember, but then I'd have such a hard time finding it again, you know? The swamp, I remember crawling through the swamp, which kind of sucked. The ancient quarry. The intensive quarrying formed a giant staircase that descends hundreds of meters to the beach. Littering the shore are the moldering carcasses and ancient skeletons of extraordinary leviathans, a testament to the ceaseless crusade against life. The wind whips through long abandoned crumbling stone and bone huts along the stairs and beach. There are 28 huts structurally intact. I search the bone hut. Bam. Then you get the necropolis. I did not ever visit the necropolis, but this is pretty cool. Nice little spread here. So, searching the necropolis, roll, loot, buildings, and encounters. So, here's your encounters, here's your buildings, D100, here's your loot, D100. The Dead Gateway. This is the explanation of the Dead Gateway up here. Powers of the gate. So, stuff that you can do with the gate. Attempting to enter the gate is a mortifying experience akin to being flensed and torn apart simultaneously. Body save or 3d10 damage, and sanity save or 1d10 stress. So just an instant murk, like smudge your character into a weird shape kind of thing. The sickly flashes of lightning illuminate, and the abomination seems to writhe sinuously. Panic check upon viewing. So this is very end game. This is your big wah, terrifying moment in the game. The crash of the Defiance. So this is the Defiance crew is like dying out here. Gaunt soldiers. So Gaunts are kind of these monsters that run around. They're like the big trans-dimensional monsters. They're pretty terrible. I think we actually ended up down in here. This map looks super familiar. Crash the Defiance. Yeah, the Red Tower. So this is the Red Tower. And yeah, we ended up in here, and boy howdy did we get smoked. Gaunts are no joke. We did make it down a few levels, I think, but in the end, we could not outrun them. Couldn't make it happen. It's a cool dungeon. It's a cool layout for a dungeon. I think it's very, very interesting. I seem to recall us getting maybe into this area here before we died. We did not make it down to the bomb. Alpha Gaunt, we never saw that guy. We got eaten. Got some stat blocks here for some monsters. More stat blocks. I think the Gaunt Walkers were most of the things that we kind of ran into. And that is the end of the book. I searched the body, derelict craft, Moon Colony, Red Tower. So you've got different tables for different sections. This type of usable layout is what Mothership is known for, and I don't think they go too wrong with Dead Planet. Another shining example of what they were trying to do with Mothership. And yeah, packing this much usable stuff inside of 48 pages, it offends the senses how good you guys are at this stuff. So congratulations on another terrifying Mothership module. I know this is old. This has been out for a while now. This came with my box set. I finally got around to reviewing it because I've had so many other things to review. So I'm really excited to get this to my table again. I want to run this for some people and scare some pants off of some folks. So I think you should pick up Dead Planet if you haven't already, or try and get it to a table where you can play it. It's a lot of fun. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for playing.